Before I talk about the units command, which lets us draw in feet and inches instead of just numbers like we were using in the previous video, I want to show you a couple of other little setup tools since we're going to be looking at it. If I go into my line command, you can see how small the text is at the cursor, and even the text in the command prompt down here. I'll show you how to make that a little bit bigger in case you want to be able to see that better. For video's sake, it's a good idea to have it a lot bigger. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the command prompt text size. I'm going to right click and pick options, and in the options dialog box I'm going to go to display, and then I'm going to hit this fonts. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. I'm going to hit the fonts button, and I'm not really going to change the font at all. I'm going to leave all of that alone. I'm going to leave it at regular. Maybe I'll change it to bold, but I'm going to make this as big as I can, and 14 point is the largest that I can make the text, and bold makes it a little bit easier to see too. So I will apply and close this and then say OK, and now you can see the text is a little bit bigger down here. The size of the window doesn't change, so I can't see my 3 lines, which I find kind of beneficial, so I'll make it a little bit bigger, and there we go. Then it's now I can see 2 lines that have happened already and the line that I'm supposed to be working with. Although that's nice and big, I can see that now. And then the dynamic input, if I right click on any one of these buttons, it'll ask me for tracking settings because I'm on the polar tracking tool, and the drafting settings dialog box comes up. If I right click on this one, which is object snap tracking, a choice for settings comes up. I pick it. The exact same dialog box up. Same thing happens if I go to this third one for object snaps. And then a different tab would be active. I don't want any one of those tabs to be active, but I need the drafting settings dialog box to pop up, so that's the way to make it pop up. And then I'm going to go to the dynamic input button, and I'm going to leave all of this alone. We'll come back and visit this one a little bit later, but I'm going to pick drafting tooltip appearance, and this is where I can change colors and things like that, transparency. I don't care about anything. I just want to make it bigger, so I'm going to yank it and make it as big as possible, and I'm going to say OK, and then OK. And now when I'm in the line command, you can see that I've got quite a bit bigger text, and it'll be easier for those of you watching the video to follow. So now I'm going to talk about the units command. And to get into the full-blown units command, I'm going to go up to the application menu, the big A, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to go to drawing utilities, and I'm just going to hover there for a second, and then the commands under drawing utilities kind of pop out here, and right in the middle is the units command. I'm going to pick units, and the units dialog box pops up, and then we can talk about or set the units that we want to work with when we're dealing with lengths and when we're dealing with angles. I'm not going to talk about any of this other stuff down here. If I pick what type of units I want to work with for length, I can pop this down, and I've got architectural, decimal, engineering, fractional, scientific. I don't know of any company around that uses anything other than decimal or architectural. We'll go ahead and pick architectural, kind of more valid for architectural drawing or civil, but it gives us a chance to work with in a feet and inches format. If I pick architectural, and then I have to pick the precision, what do I want my dynamic input to be reading back to me? How accurate do I want that? To the nearest 16th of an inch? I can go all the way down to the nearest 256th of an inch, or as rough as just the closest inch. AutoCAD will always draw to the exact length that you tell it, but this is what it's going to tell you that length is, no matter what the length actually is, to the nearest 16th. I typically leave it at the nearest 16th. That might be more accurate than what you might even need in a a larger civil engineering environment. Angular input, decimal degrees is pretty common. We could talk about them in degrees, minutes, and seconds, or grads or radians, if you have any clue what those are. Not many people do. Or surveyor's units. I'm going to leave it alone at decimal degrees, but if you need surveyor's units, you can play around with that on your own. I'll leave it at decimal degrees, and then I want my angles to read out to more than just the whole degree, maybe to a tenth of a degree, okay? And I'll just leave it at that, and I'll say, okay. And now, if you remember when we were dragging this line at 45 degrees, that information would be shown to us at just, it was just saying the whole number. Now you'll see it's reading out to a tenth of a degree, okay? And you'll see that the length of my line is reading out to sixteenths, or as fine as a 16th. It won't ever get to a 32nd. I can still draw to an even 32nd of an inch, but AutoCAD is going to report that back to me to the nearest 16th of an inch. So that's our units command. I will take a look at my coordinate dial down here. Now that I've switched my units to architectural, it tells us where my cursor is at any one point in time. If I wanted to draw a line that is, let's say, horizontal, we won't get into the angle, we just got done talking about that in the previous video. If I wanted to draw a line horizontal and let's say 15.5 inches, if that's what pops into your head, even though we're in an architectural format where we're dealing with feet and inches and fractions of an inch, you can always talk to AutoCAD in whole numbers and decimals. So if I wanted 15.5, I could do 15.5, and it works. Now it's quite a bit bigger. I haven't talked about this yet, but I can roll my mouse wheel to zoom out and see that whole 15.5 inch long line. I'll hit enter to end that line command. And we'll just draw another 15.5 inch long line below it in the feet and inches type format. Okay, so now I'm going to go 1 foot, and I have to put the little apostrophe for the foot sign, and then 3.5. I can kind of mix and match my whole numbers and decimals. I can go 15.5 that way. Okay, hit enter. You see that those lines are the same length. If I hit the line tool again and pull this over, and if I wanted to do this all in feet and inches and fractions of an inch instead of decimals of an inch, I would go 1 foot, 3, and now, because the space bar and the enter key are actually both considered an enter key, if I hit a space bar to separate the 3 from the fractional half an inch, it would enter 1 foot 3 and I'd be done. So I have to put a hyphen in there. It's kind of a placeholder, and then I can do 1 foot, 3 1/2 inch. And you can actually leave the inch symbol off and hit enter. That will work. Or if you are in the mode of, since I use the foot symbol, I'm going to use the inch symbol too. You can do that. That's fine. And I hit enter, and you can see I've got 3 lines, all of that exact same length, with the feet and inches format, or with the architectural units set. Also, because we turned on our units toggle down here, if you'll see that if it's now reading architectural instead of decimal, if I wanted to switch back to decimal, I can do that, but that's all it does, is it only switches the linear unit type that we're working with. It doesn't give us the ability to change the precision. It doesn't give us a chance to change the angular type of units. If I right click on here, even that doesn't give me the chance to execute the actual units command. I got to go up to the big A and go to drawing utilities and then pick units. Or if you're like me and you like to type, UN is the keyboard shortcut for units. And there they are again. Cancel out of here. And that's an overview of the units command and a couple of setup tools for making your command prompt bigger and your dynamic input bigger.